And we're live. Another episode of The Oddest Couple. I'm Felix Levine. Across from me is the star of the show, John Alite. A quick reminder, if this is your first time watching our show, please do us a quick favor. Subscribe, hit that like button, comment below. We want to see active engagement in the comments, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, your hot take, you love the show, you hate the show, all of it is welcomed. So please do that. Legacy 11 Vodka helps sponsor the show, so go check them out. We'll put a link to their website in the description of this video. It is a brand new vodka, 11 times distilled, 11 times filtered, sugar-free, gluten-free, available in 39 states right now. It'll be available in all 50 shortly. Our Patreon, if you want to get access to episodes early, if you're an OG and you want to see some of our old content, all of that's on our Patreon, so that's very exciting. So go check that out today. The description is in the link, or the link is in the description of this video as well. Today, we're going to talk about something that I'm, believe it or not, more familiar with than you are. And it's the case of Bob Durst. But
That's a first.
I know, it's a first. For people who are familiar with this case, it's a crazy case. I won't spoil it because I watched the documentary. I have to find the exact name of the documentary that I'm talking about because I think there probably were a couple. But the case of Robert Durst is one of the most insane that I've heard from like a criminal, justice standpoint, in terms of like letting a killer loose for so long, and then the way that they caught him was insane. I'll go into a lot of the details, but what we wanted to do today is kind of get a perspective of someone who was formerly, involved in crime, and how Robert Durst was able to get away with it. I'll sum it up very quickly without spoiling too much, but long story short is that, and I believe some people can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is more or less what it was. Robert Durst's wife went missing. So Robert Durst came from one of the richest real estate families in New York City, in the United States, I believe. And his wife goes missing.
That part I knew.
Shortly thereafter, his best friend, this female who lived in California, goes missing. And then years later in Galveston, Texas, his neighbor gets killed. So then it was and then somebody disposed of the body of that neighbor and did a poor job of it, and it very quickly came back to shore in a trash bag. And so then the police obviously was notified. They did all the DNA, and then that's basically the start of when the case against him started to build. I believe that they put a bond on him for like $250,000. He wired it immediately, so they were like, "This is strange. Somebody that you have this much money, but you live in a very, very small apartment and don't work. What's going on?" And so then that was how I believe, more or less, the case of Robert Durst started. I guess through your eyes, first and foremost, what do you remember about the case? Because we haven't gotten to speak too much about it.
I remember. I just thought it was
Bring it closer.
I just thought it was the murder of his wife, and I think I remember about the friend, but I knew it was about his wife, and that there was an investigation that went on for years that he was never caught, and then later on in life they somehow catch him. I just don't remember how they catch him, and he goes to jail, and I believe he dies in jail. That's sort of basics. What I remember.
So here I'll even read the quick exact biography so people have it. He was the eldest son of New York City real estate magnate Seymour Durst. He gained attention as a suspect in the unsolved 1982 disappearance of his first wife, Kathleen McCormack, the 2000 murder of his longtime friend, Susan Berman. I didn't even realize 18 years later was when his friend Susan Berman, his best friend Susan Berman, died, and the 2001 killing, so a year after that, of his neighbor Morris Black.
Do they see the reasons why he's killing? I know his wife, but his best friend and his neighbor is two different things. That makes it more of a serial killer kind of thing than over business.
So here, listen to this last part though. Acquitted of murdering Morris Black, his neighbor, in 2003, Durst did not face significant further legal action until his participation in the 2015 documentary miniseries The Jinx, which is the one that I'm referring to, led to him being charged with Berman's murder. Durst was convicted of the murder in 2021 and sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was charged with McCormack's disappearance shortly after his sentencing, but died in 2022 before a trial could begin. So think about this like for a quick second. And I think this puts into perspective there was a lot of dealings, and people knew. I know people knew. They actually show his brother, who was also basically when the dad died, the company, it was a family business, went to the two brothers, and his brother hired personal security against Robert Durst.
I was going to say, I remember something of his brother not trusting him.
He didn't trust him at all. And they didn't get along at all.
That I do remember.
And so think about this. The wife goes missing in 1982. He doesn't even seem that upset about it. And then 18 years later was his next killing. So, and then there's things about that. We'll talk about that in a second. So in your eyes, right, if for 18 years nothing goes on, what kinds of things are you looking for as like cover-ups, right? As someone who is formerly, involved in crimes and trying to cover them up as well, is like, what do you think he was doing, and what kind of conversations and what kind of tactics does he have to do to make sure that he's always like clean?
Well, first of all, it's very, very poor police work. If there wasn't a payoff, it's because the obvious person that's the killer of a husband or wife is the spouse of either one, right? Or a triangle love situation, and you look at boyfriend. So whoever's investigating this obviously didn't investigate him the way they should properly, either a payoff, which I doubt, right? I really doubt it was a payoff, because now you're involving another person. The more people you involve, it's the easier they get caught. I think it was them assuming this is a very, very wealthy guy, and it can't be him for whatever reason. He's too rich, he's too wealthy, he's too powerful. And maybe they looked into enemies of his that he's done business with. I would think that'd be the first thing, financial enemies. Was the wife involved with somebody else? Was it just a murder, robbery? Something like that if he covered. But as a killer, the best way not to get caught, obviously, is not to talk about it, which he probably didn't, because there's nobody that came forward ever. So there was no vulnerability of somebody coming forward and giving him up.
Well, so the craziest part is there was this whole, and I'm going to butcher this, FYI, but I think McCormack she was either going in school or she was studying to be like a pediatrician or something. And the whole story was that he put her on a commuter service rail and she never got there. Now, and you would probably agree with me as well, this would never happen in this day and age because there's cameras at all these places. And like,
right,
if someone says I was on a train or I put her on a train and she was not on the train, you could track that. For you, I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious, but how easy really was it to get away with things considering there were no cameras? And what were maybe some of the electronic devices that you were, though, weary of when it came to covering up your tracks?
I mean, there was some cameras around. There was no cameras around.
Right.
There were certain cameras around, but very few. And some of the things that you would, obviously an alibi. They had to ask where he was when it was, at the time. I mean, these are simple questions law enforcement should have asked him. DNA, even back then, you would worry about DNA of some sort. So, and the third thing is, if I was a police officer, I would have asked him, why isn't she in a private cab or a private car or a driver? So he must have consistently sent her prior to this, I would think, to other locations without a private driver or a taxi. Because this is, when you break a routine, you say, well, you always have a driver. Why all of a sudden now doesn't she have a driver? So that was something else that he probably, looked beforehand and understood he had to do. And the other thing is fighting, quarreling with her. Was there any fighting going on prior to that? Was there any relationships? Some of the things that if he was going to do, did he move any money? Was there life insurance? Not that he needed that. But life insurance was, all the policies taken out. So maybe she didn't have any life insurance. And they're like, well, there's no life insurance, but he's a very wealthy guy, so why would he need it?
Right.
But obviously it's poor police work. So, maybe some of this did happen and come to fruition and, they never checked. And also the family members. I don't know what her family situation was. Did anybody give any kind of testimony in his behalf, saying, no, he's the nicest guy to her, he's the, there's no reason. They weren't fighting, they weren't getting divorced, they weren't separated. So things that would say, well, they never fought, they never were separated, they had a great relationship. And, I'm assuming the police asked these questions to family members.
So then, I forgot there's a couple different parts of this story. So in 2000, 18 years after his wife gets or disappears, then his friend Susan Berman is apparently they were very close. And so here, I'll read this part. Susan Berman, a longtime friend of Durst who had facilitated his public alibi after McCormack's disappearance, was the daughter of David Berman. I don't know if that name rings a bell, a major Jewish American organized crime figure who dominated illegal gambling in Depression-era Minneapolis and later took over the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas Strip. On December 24th, 2000, Berman was found murdered execution-style in her home in Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles, after her neighbors called the police to report that her door was open and one of her fox terriers was loose. A few days later, this is the part that gets crazy, a letter addressed to the Beverly Hills Police Department, postmarked December 23rd, contained Berman's address, and the word cadaver on the envelope Beverly was misspelled as Beverly with an extra E in between the L and the Y at the end.
I wonder if he did that purposely.
So Durst is known to have been in Northern California days before Berman was killed and have flown from San Francisco to New York the night before Berman's body was discovered. Berman had recently received $50,000 from Durst in 2 payments, although Durst confirmed to LAPD that he had sent Berman $25,000 and faxed investigators a copy of her 1982 deposition regarding his missing wife. He declined to be further questioned about the murder. And then, so
maybe she had involvement with.
So apparently he had given her some. He had given her some money. And she had not, and I think her dad was also involved in organized. So there's like some weird ties.
And where's her husband at the time?
She didn't have. I don't think she had a husband.
He passed away.
Yeah, I don't think she even had a husband.
Well, Berman was the organized crime.
You mean the dad? So Susan Berman is Durst's best friend, and Susan Berman's dad is the organized crime guy.
And where's he at this point? He's passed away, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he gave her $25,000 in 2 payments, $50,000.
Yeah.
So that I'm assuming she had some knowledge of the past of his wife.
Oh, I'm sure that
and probably asked for more money. Here's the reason: 18 years went by.
Yeah.
Maybe she was in financial problems, and she asked for more money, and he didn't want to give her more money, and he agreed maybe to her. I'll give you more money. Came out and killed her.
It's funny.
But I also don't believe a guy that's doing this hasn't killed others.
So.
And I wonder if there was an investigation of him killing other people.
Well, so then it gets crazy because then it brings it back to sorry, I'm just trying to find.
While you're doing that, do you like my shirt, by the way?
I do like your shirt. Where's it from?
This is a shirt I bought. My daughter used to wear it all the time. So I wear it because I think about my daughter when I wear it.
That's sweet. Yeah, I know. I love that shirt.
I won't wash it, actually. I hand wash just the sleeves and stuff.
Oh, really?
Because she wore it, so I don't want it to get ruined.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to this. So, oh my God, I forgot this part of the story. So on October 9, 2001, Durst was arrested in Galveston shortly after body parts belonging to his elderly 71-year-old neighbor, Morris Black, were found floating in Galveston Bay. He was released on $250,000 bail, missed a court hearing on October 16th, and a warrant was issued for his arrest on the charge of bail jumping. On November 30th, Durst was caught inside a Wegmans supermarket in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, after trying to shoplift Band-Aids, a newspaper, and a chicken salad sandwich, though he had $500 in his pocket. Among the items discovered in his rental car were $37,000 in cash, 2 guns, marijuana, Morris Black's driver's license, the guy that he had killed, or allegedly, and directions to Gilberte Najami's home in Connecticut.
What year was this?
2001. So this was a month after 9/11.
This is 20 years later he dies. Okay. So this is 20 years before that. So he's got to be in his, 70 years old at this time.
No, he's let's see.
65.
He died at 78 in 2022, so 20 years. He was 58.
So he's a fairly young guy.
Yeah.
But an intelligent guy, yet he's doing something as stupid as this, shoplifting.
Shoplifting
so
when he jumped bail.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second. And he had $500 in his pocket and $37,000 in the car.
Why would you do something as stupid as
this? But people also
a lot of serial killers want to get caught. You know that.
Yeah. So I think that's that. Because think about it too. It's clearly not a money issue. right? The shoplifting.
No, it's not a money issue.
So I think it's an adrenaline. It's like an adrenaline thing. It's like something's off. Obviously, That goes without saying.
It's the last time I'm shoplifting.
Yeah.
Hey, if it was now, he went and got bothered. There's how I go out. Is that under 900? You can keep going.
No, but yeah, it's a very strange situation.
By
and
the
it's
way,
also,
I don't shoplift.
You don't shoplift
really
for the record. Yeah, I know. But it was also crazy because they showed throughout the documentary like his brother.
And it's not a moral thing either. I don't shoplift because it'd be embarrassing to get caught.
I know. It was almost like, you remember when Jameis Winston, the quarterback for the Saints now, when he was like the top guy, I think it was at Florida State, he got caught shoplifting crab legs. And this guy's going to be like the number one pick in the NFL
What's that
draft.
famous actress, pretty girl? She's got a problem shoplifting. She's a kleptomaniac.
What's her name?
I don't know. She played. People that watch this will probably know. Can you write it in? Whoever sees this, yeah, she's famous and she's very
Really?
good looking, and she couldn't stop from shoplifting. I think she played in King Kong, if that's the same girl, the newest King Kong.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, crazy.
But I wonder. I think it's an adrenaline. It has to be something.
I'm pretty normal compared to a lot of you nuts out there.
Yeah. It's true. We see some crazy people that comment on our shit.
I know.
But what do you think it is? I'm curious. Like for a guy like that, right? I think, just so you have more information, so his family doesn't fuck with him at all because.
Well, I know his brother didn't like him or trust him. We talk about that off the air.
Yeah.
On the air.
No,
I
on the
remember.
air. So he hired security. His brother hired security against his own brother.
Yeah, because he knows he's a little off. See, I really believe, and I don't know if they investigate him for other murders, his actions are more of a serial killer.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if this guy's killed a lot of people before that, or a couple of people more before that, because there's something off about his behavior. First off, a lot of people have trouble with their husband and wives. Forget about if you want to kill him or not, but people don't kill him. And even if you did want to kill him, you got to be the dumbest guy in the world, because no matter what goes on, 99.9% of you get caught, because everybody knows to look for the spouse.
Yeah.
So there's the first off thing about him. Second, I believe he killed Berman because he was covering up. She had the knowledge of what happened. She probably helped him to kill the wife, and maybe he had an affair with her. I don't know that part. But, I would assume they're best friends and fooled around also. That's just an assumption.
I think that's probably fair. I think, and this is the part, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it, but like.
Spoil it.
Okay, I'll spoil it. So.
If you don't want it spoiled, turn us off at this point in the video.
And then watch it after. But like, that note, I think really sealed it for me, where like he misspelled Beverly, right? And then he also didn't have like a return address. It was very weirdly written, and the note inside said like cadaver at the I think it was at the specific address or whatever else was written. And then it was insane because think about this, 20 years later, this movie director of The Jinx shows him the note and says, whoever killed her probably wrote this note. And he goes, yeah, probably. And then they show him his writing. And
why would he say that?
I don't know.
And then later on he goes on a hot mic, right?
So it's the same interview. And also, it's weird that he's agreeing to do these interviews, and they're asking him anything. He doesn't.
Well, that's why he
loves. I think he loves the attention.
And but he's got some sort of serial wish to get caught.
For sure. I think.
Or you wouldn't be doing this.
But then so he has a hot mic because they kept the mic on him. He's like, I have to go to the bathroom mid interview, and he goes, "Fuck, they got me." And that's basically it. That's the most. And no, I remember.
I remember I was on an interview, and I went to the restroom, and my friend was in the other room. And I was talking about one of the producers, and I said, man, is she sexy? And then I looked at him, and he goes, what? I go, the mic's on. So I know they all heard the whole cruise.
I mean, yeah.
And I was embarrassed when I was coming back. I just played it off, obviously.
Did she?
No, she didn't say anything.
Damn, sorry.
Sorry. She knows who I'm talking about.
But it's like, that's the whole point, right? It's like, I don't know. I think I'm curious, like, into the mind of. It's also interesting for me, right? Because somebody could say with, your past, technically that you would be a serial killer. I don't see it like that.
Yeah, I've been called by who.
Yeah, by a lot of people. But It's completely different. It's completely different because that was also it was like gangs and war affiliate. Like there's that
mob world, but serial killers is completely different. That people don't understand what serial killers.
Like serial killers, like Ted Bundy type shit. That like
that and dismemberment.
And
just for random sick reasons they kill somebody for no real objective. So this was mob related. It's kind of different. You don't just.
Do you think there are any serial killers in the mob?
Yeah, I mean, if Roy DeMeo is one.
Yeah, that's true.
There's something wrong with the way he did things.
Yeah,
obviously, there's something off the way Tommy Karate did things. Patera, this is enjoyment of dismembering bodies is not exactly normal. So. These guys are doing these kind of things with Durst. He's something's definitely wrong because he wanted to get caught. That's why he did what he did with the interviews. Why he went into a store and stole when he had all this money on him. Why he's writing a letter to Beverly Hills. What does he care if the cadaver's found or not?
Yeah.
These are like hints that they get playing with law enforcement.
Interesting. So do you think it was like a power trip? That he wanted to play with law enforcement and be like, I could.
Well, it is a power trip with serial killers. They actually think they're smarter than everybody, but subconsciously they also want to get caught. A psychologist, if anybody's watching this, can write in and please tell us, exactly if what I'm saying is correct, because I'm really curious.
But why do they want to get caught?
They got a hatred from themselves somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they want to get caught for that reason, and for the reason of they want the attention. So not only do they want to get caught for punishment themselves, they want the attention, the same reason that he's doing the interviews. They want the attention of, I'm smarter than you, try to catch me. So, but the case is interesting. I mean, just some of the things, like the brother probably had an idea. Well, I just curious if who investigated this? It had to be NYPD, right? Because whoever did it had to have no experience.
LAPD for the...
Well, LAPD doesn't have... They're known to be dummies. Yeah. Sorry, everybody in LA. Not all he is, but they bungled some of the biggest cases ever. Texas law enforcement is known to be okay. So is New York. But LA
New York was shocking.
Is the questionable one. Over the years, they screwed up a lot of big cases.
I also do think that the money thing came into play, and maybe more than we know. And there was also rumors, though, that like people within the company were trying to pay off when law enforcement came to talk to him, because obviously even his brother's going to be a suspect, right? You never
Well, the brother might not talk because the brother's financial. I don't know what their companies are tied up in. So if he makes problems for his brother, he makes problems for himself.
Well, it was a crazy thing too, where I believe Durst Group, this was it. They were part of the project for the Freedom Tower.
Really?
Yeah, it was like they're that big.
No, I know he was big. I didn't realize he had.
I think here I'm gonna confirm this. I thought
Freedom Tower was Silverstein. Look up at Silverstein. Silverstein's one of the biggest.
Durst Group Freedom Tower. Pretty sure there was something like. Yep. What buildings do the Durst family own? One World Trade Center.
Yeah.
One Bryant Park, 151. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Bryant Park is nice. Anybody that's not from New York,
Durst family.
Bryant Park.
Wait, listen to this. The Durst family owns. They own more than 16 million square feet of real estate in New York and Philadelphia, and they include a 10% stake in One World Trade Center. So they don't own the entire thing, obviously, but. Think about that. That's a lot. And so I remember in the documentary, and this is why this is free press for the documentary, but I really loved it, is they talk about like when they get announced with all these big projects, at the same time there's like the press that's like, this is the brother of this guy, Robert Durst, who's being indicted as a serial killer. And it's a terrible look for the organization. So that's why like I think the brother knew that all these things were coming, because think about it. In 1982, his sister-in-law, right?
Who's the mayor in 1982? I got to remember.
Of New York?
Yeah. Is it Koch? Who the hell was the mayor?
1982 NYC mayor. Let's see. Is
it Koch, I think.
Koch.
Yeah. So I still got my politics, I told you. It's
you find a way
Well, I'm going to tell you something. So Koch, and whoever is, You got to remember, this guy is so wealthy, and they're probably being told by whoever's running the city at the time, Koch, the governor, chief of police, what are you, nuts, investigating this guy? This guy, owns half the city. You got to remember the political ramifications of going after one of the biggest developers and owners in the city of real estate. So some of these cops probably were intimidating, were tiptoeing around investigating this, which is another issue, on top. So maybe it wasn't such a bad police work of investigation, but it was more because of like you said, I think you said that early, the politics behind it.
Who in the 80s and 90s were the easiest to pay off?
Everybody. And I talked.
How do you
about
approach like when you're going to pay somebody off? By the way,
you got to find a common ground to pay them off. So whether and I talked about how I got to police that worked for me. You find the common ground with them. You get closer. You don't just pay them off. You get involved in gambling with them. You go to Atlantic City like I did with Phil Baroni, the cop. He brought around his other friends, which I influenced him to do. And now you're slowly getting to know them all, so it's a little different. It's what I always talk about politics. There's 5 crime families here in the city. They don't go against each other. They work with each other overall. A little against each other, no different than the Democrat and Republican Party. They're not really as separated as everybody thinks. That's why I'm always saying we're in a one-party system.
Right.
You need a third party because they work together too much. So same here.
Give me a quick example of someone that was pretty hard to pay off that you eventually got to pay off.
Well, I got to the biggest police in the city. I got Detective Phil Baroni, who got me to Morgenthau's, the district attorney's of Manhattan's driver.
How'd it work?
I got Phil to get to them. Joe Coffey was now there's a difference. People say he was corrupt. He wasn't corrupt. I don't know 100%. I think he was because Phil was working with him, and I know he was gambling with us. So he's not straight-laced because he's gambling with us, and he gave the information of Phil Baroni when they were going to lock up John Gotti. So when they locked up Senior, I already knew, and I told Senior, you're getting locked up. How do you know? And I gave him the information where I got it from. So we already got it from Joe Coffey to Phil Baroni to me to John. So John was expecting it. So when people ask, how do you get to these levels of corruption? It's no different than the low level of corruption. As you move up the ladder, you're making more money, and when you make more money, you're meeting a lot of prestigious people. I met parties with some serious people when I was a gangster back then.
But I'm saying, like, the moment that you then are gonna start talking about getting them on your side, how does that work? Like, you obviously get friendly with them, and then, like, what do you really say?
Well, I'll give you one instance. I went to see somebody, and I put an envelope on the table. And he says, I'm not taking that. I said, all right. So I left the envelope on the table. I said, see you later. I just walked out. I said, you don't take it, leave it there. So, not too many people will walk away and leave $10,000 on the table. So he took it. I mean, you don't have to, you don't have to take it like that, but that's how it's taken.
Right.
I had a judge that I talked about that was, he was a county judge. He's still a judge. And he was into the mall back then. I go into his back chambers and I meet him. And, they wanted $5,000 at the time we were getting driver's licenses. But he wanted it actually directly from me. He wouldn't take it from, I had the chief of police through Gotti. Gotti had him. And we had the chief of police, and I went to see him. And I gave him the $5,000. The judge directly.
That was to get a what?
Driver's licenses. We had the DMV. So we could get the different driver's license.
Oh, I see.
He was degenerate gambler, the chief of police, and so he brought us to a judge. A judge is the guy that met me also. So
crazy.
Yeah, listen, money's money. People take money all the way to the top. Look at the corruption now. That's why I said, look at our government so corrupt because other countries realize it and they're getting to us. They're getting to everybody in Congress. There should be oversight committees on each oversight committee.
Was there ever someone that completely turned it down no matter how hard you tried?
Yeah, there's certain guys that'll, not me personally, but there's guys that are straight-laced that just ain't going to take it. I mean, I can't remember specifically, but there were guys that I ran into that I tried that wouldn't take the money.
Like, if you left it on the table, they literally wouldn't take it?
I'm trying to think of different guys. There was other incidences where I tried it and they didn't take it. I don't know if it was specifically like that. But some people the money doesn't.
But then with that guy that took it,
'em.
the one that took it, then eventually, later down the line, you can call him and ask him for something.
That's the whole point. You're not
Right, but I'm
that.
saying like there's no, once he takes it, that favor is there.
Always.
Yeah.
Richard Hartman was, he was head of Nassau County PBA. So when I first had him, and later on it comes out that he was gambling like crazy in Atlantic City, he got caught up in a million things. But when I first see him, it's money. He tells me straight out.
Right.
It's not what I know, it's who I know. And you're not going to jail, give me the money, blah, blah, blah. And he takes the money, and he introduces me to another attorney that handles my case, Marshall Traeger. I remember good names, I got a good memory. And Marshall Traeger was straight shooting guys. He thinks he's working hard and he's going to get me off. Meanwhile, he doesn't know the payoff's in already.
Right.
And I met him through Mark Ryder, Angelo Ruggiero, and I'm talking about Richard Hartman.
Yeah.
And later on, it comes out about the millions he owes Atlantic City, and he was a nice guy, but listen, degenerate gambler, corrupt because of it, and your moral balance changes because of money, like most of these politicians. They might start off good, and then later on they're corrupted. Well,
the Robert Durst case, I think, is definitely one of the most intriguing.
Yeah, watch that documentary, actually.
Yeah. The Jinx. It's excellent. It's one of the, I think it combines a lot of these themes of, you have the crime aspect to it, but then like the paying off, the politics behind it, human dynamics too, and then just, it's a very strange story. Anyways, thank you guys so much for another episode. And
I want them to watch the Psychic Godfather, my friend Jason. I talked about it on the other show with Hilton Love 2, and he's a great psychic. People that want to see him. We did a Hollywood magazine together a couple of years now, 2 or 3 years now. So we've been friends for a good 40 years, and he's fantastic at what he does. So
check it out.
Check him out.
And then like this video, comment below, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will see you next week.
And watch The Pony. It's coming soon. The movie I'm doing, it's going to be on fentanyl, a lot of awareness. People that want to get involved, contact me, write us. If you want to invest in the film, if you want to advertise through the film, it's going to be at Egypt Raceway in New Jersey. And you could contact Rick directly there. And it's dirt car racing. Great sport.